Welcome to episode 14 of the Poker Face podcast, The Taste of Human Blood.
In The Taste of Human Blood, we are introduced to Fran Lamont, a respected Florida cop with a strong track record, frustrated at years of missing out on recognition to regional celebrity Gator Joe Pilson, a traffic cop with an alligator sidekick. When a tasteless prank goes horribly wrong, Fran co-opts Joe's gator to help clean up her mess. But can she clean up the evidence and conceal her crime? Or will her conscience cause her to confess her criminal act?
He's big on cop talk, gator talk. Because of his Rolex collection, he's also quite popular in the horologist community.
They love him on TikTok talk.
Good evening, Iain. How are you?
I'm not too bad, Gerry. How are you? Which talks are you into?
I am into TED Talks.
TED Talk?
Talk, yes. And Snapchat is my big
Snap
thing.
Talk.
Snap Talk, that's the thing.
That's probably an app now.
Is it?
I don't know.
Probably died. No longer in existence. Like Periscope, remember that?
Yeah, Vine. Back in the day.
All the socials.
Anyway, did you watch Tiger King when it was on?
I did. I've watched I believe there's been a follow-up.
I've not seen that. I never got into the stuff around it. I watched it, but I never got into the whole sort of memeing and the whole Carol Baskin thing. No.
I think that there was a period in time with that and the podcast like Serial where everyone was really invested. You've got Making a Murderer.
Yeah.
And I'll be perfectly honest right now. You watch it at the time, especially with Stephen Avery Making a Murderer, and you think, oh, this is outrageous injustice, and now I can't be bothered. I don't care if he's guilty or not.
No, yeah, I lost interest after a while, yeah.
Yeah, Serial, Adnan.
He got out, yeah.
Did he? I don't know. He's probably guilty as well. I don't know.
Is he? Yeah.
I don't know, probably. That's not a legal accusation, just in case his lawyers are listening. I'm just saying he could be.
Well, who knows? There's a whole podcast about that.
Point being, yeah, I'm over that whole bothering.
Yeah. And later on in this podcast, we've got a regional connection.
We do, yeah. Can we mention that just now? Or
if you want, you can do it now, but I was saving it for the trivia, but we've got other trivia.
Right, so tell me about the actor who plays one of the main characters, the victim.
Yes, so Gator Joe is played by Kumail Nanjiani.
Now, I obviously recognised the surname, and you told me that it was in fact connected to the local icon that we have in this country, Gerry Nanjiani.
Yes, I think it was news to her. She found out in 2012.
Right, so this guy is quite popular, quite big.
He is now, yeah. He's in Marvel and other sorts of things. Yeah.
Now, Gerry is, or was a broadcaster of 30 or 40 years. She was the main anchor, I think, in the Scottish News. Was it
over 20 years on STV News, I think, and then radio since then.
And I think only recently she has retired from her daily radio show.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think so.
So yeah, everyone knows Gerry Nanjiani. And one of the reasons is because her surname has became part of the Scottish rhyming slang.
Parlance,
yes. The vernacular. As people may know, in the UK, the word fanny is not like in America where it's a bottom, an ass.
Yes.
It's got a different meaning. But in Scotland, people would refer to that as, okay, let me put it in context. All right, doll, give me a look at your Gerry Nanjiani.
Yeah, have you said that yourself?
I've never said that myself. And it's probably,
have now, obviously.
I have now, yeah. So yeah, your Gerry Nanjiani is rhyming slang.
Yeah.
Anyway. Was it cousins there?
Second cousins, I think. Yeah, I mean, I'll forget a wee bit more about it later on, but yeah.
Maybe we should mention, tag her in one of the socials and see if she can reach out to him.
Well, talking about socials, people can reach out to us at Columbo Podcast on all the major social networks and on Twitter. And if they want to see next week's episode, head to YouTube already. And if you want show notes, go to ColumboPodcast.com. All the usual places. I say this every week. People know.
I'm getting bored of it. I don't even listen. Have you said it already?
I did.
Snapchat, are we on that?
It's finished.
Right.
As you exclusively revealed at the top.
Enough of this Nanjiani talk. Are you finished?
Okay, yeah.
Let's crack on.
After a short recap showing that Charlie's now free and not being pursued and all these sort of things that we figured out last week, we go to a porch in a suburban American street.
Before we start this episode proper, I have taken a note here because it was obvious to me that I'm surprised we haven't mentioned it before. And if any of the writers are listening, they can have this one on the house. Surely we must have a scene, bearing in mind what's happening in the world today. We have a scene where Charlie is watching the TV. There are politicians talking, and there is a BS overload where she just nearly explodes with all the nonsense that's coming out of the set.
I don't think that's unique to the current. No matter what time folk could listen to this in 10 years' time or 100 years' time, and politicians will still be lying on television.
It's more intense and it's more obvious, and it's less. They try and hide it less now. They just tell lies, and
they just change the truth. That does happen.
Yeah, there must be a scene at some point. Come on.
I mean, she's had an sensory overload from the number of lies previously, hasn't she? In season 1.
Wasn't a politician, was it?
It wasn't a politician, no.
Anyway.
We get this shot of a woman in hair rollers with a shotgun, and it reminds me, I couldn't put my finger on what it reminds me of. I feel like I've seen this image somewhere before. I
think in fairness, there's been it's not one particular movie or scene. I think there has been,
Maybe that's the kind of thing, if someone else can think of what I'm thinking of, they could maybe tweet us and let me know what it was, and I'll figure it out, because I tried to Google it and nothing, and maybe that's not how you search for things anymore. It should be on ChatGPT or something. But
also, it's worth pointing out that as the titles have been displayed this week, there is a more relaxed score, which I think represents the current state that Charlie finds herself in.
We'll probably talk about that some more as we go along. I think the whole episode is reflective of Charlie's present sort of lack of purpose, lack of direction, maybe.
Yeah, talking about direction, before we get to the women on the porch, there's a bit of a nice bit of misdirection. So the camera focuses across the street, and you see a man coming out of a house and walking his dog. But the camera drops down, and we see that actually what we need to look at is this woman facing inwards to us.
In the foreground, yeah.
She very steadily points an assault rifle inwards to her home. And we see a relaxed cop, Fran Lamont, drive up alone. And the unwavering woman tells her that he is the one she called about. And what do we see?
As a criminal who appears to be stuck in a cat flap.
Yeah, a defeated, half-arsed, pathetic burglar type. I think he's wearing stockings over his face.
Fran asks the woman for some peanut oil, and we cut to the police station where presumably this same criminal is being booked. Yeah,
she brings this sweaty guy who she knows is Earl, or has found out is Earl. In fact, does she know already? Is this maybe like a local...
I think she's aware of him because he's got other previous crimes, but not of this nature.
No, she's quite sympathetic to the self-confessed idiot who was trying to get money for his kids' dental bills. And I think she sees a picture of a quite a respectable looking family on his phone.
Yeah.
So she further shows her compassion and surprises him by telling him that she convinced the homeowner not to press charges as it was his first time and he was unarmed. And due to other shoplifting offences, this could have ruined his life. And we call back to this with Fran herself.
Yes. Her view that a good life should not be ruined by one stupid mistake, which he assures her is what this was. Did you think we were going to see more of Earl?
Yeah, potentially.
But we didn't.
We don't. Or the homeowners.
Spoilers.
We next see her in her office, where more of her good character is highlighted, as we see her on the phone on a missing cat, the trope of a missing cat case.
That's it.
At this point, we are introduced to the chief who hands her a nomination.
Chief Hal, yes, he's got a letter nominating her for a flopper copper.
Yes, the 2019. At first I thought, what's going on here? I was taking a big leap back in time.
Well.
Yes, it's for all her community work, which she dismisses and says she's no time for this due to the cat situation.
She's never heard of these awards.
I think the cat was on Pat Boone Drive. To be mentioned tonight, it was trivia. We talked about Pat Boone in an episode of Quantum Leap.
Did we? Why?
Yes. I think it was the radio station one.
The chief lists some Florida Man memes in a sort of heavy-handed way of introducing the concept to anyone who wasn't familiar with it.
And so she agrees to attend, but only for him.
Yes, it reflects well on the department.
So we're at the Flopper Coppers.
Yes, a band plays a cop-themed version of Twist and Shout as a taser is demonstrated at one stand and snacks named Miranda Bites are distributed.
Yeah, as he and Fran take in all this copy stuff going on. So we see there's stands with people showing off guns and...
Yeah, it's not just the taser, there's all sorts of things.
Drug seizures. Now, again, this highlights, I think, the change in tone. It's obviously borderline comic book here, a caricature.
The whole episode is mocking Florida, I think, and this is just part of it.
And I noted that, the chief himself has got shades of Commandant Lassard about him.
Absolutely, very much so.
There's also groupies.
Yes, they're called pig...
Porkers.
Porkers, yeah.
So later on, we're at the actual ceremony. for this Cop of the Year, hosted by who?
Matt Passmore. And I've got trivia about him later on, so we can maybe save that.
Okay, he reads the nominees before announcing the winner, and obviously we'd assume it was Fran herself.
It's not, though, and she's barely interested. She's sitting with Chief Hal, texting a colleague who didn't realise you need a warrant to board a houseboat.
Who is the winner?
It is Joe Pilson, who is a traffic cop who carries a baby alligator around that he rescued during a stop.
Yeah, busting a local meth dealer. He gives quite a camp acceptance speech, which gets ohs and ahs from the audience as he tells them he loves being a cop, he loves Florida, and most of all, Daisy the alligator.
We then get a crawl stating that 6 years and 6 Gator Joe wins have passed, and we find a little bit more bitter version of Fran.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think in fairness, Joe has turned into an abomination in the style of the Tiger King, as we see Fran watch one of his social posts in disbelief.
Hey fam, it's 6-time Flopacopa winner Gator Joe here. I hope you're feeling as happy and fulfilled with your life as I am, because y'all know what time it is. You have the right to shit your pants. Looks like your boy Gator Joe busted another tweaker. Y'all know what that means. Daisy gets her Oreos. There you go, honey. Don't do meth. And when I need a little pick-me-up on the job, I grab me a 2-hour power juice. Gator done.
How many goddamn catchphrases does this one guy need, huh? Is it Gator done? Or is it you have the right to shit your pants, huh?
And no, it's like Pickle Lane.
6 years I've lost to this moron. What do people see in him?
I do think he has a sort of undeniable charisma, despite his vapidity. Also, could I get a towel or something? I'm bleeding on the floor.
Oh, shit.
Some of y'all in the comments been saying I give Daisy
all right?
too many drugs. Listen, fam, it's mostly just reptile laxative. This stuff is perfectly safe. Heck, I've even taken a little myself when I needed to unclog the old pipes. Work. Flopacopa nom, baby. Let's see if old Mr. Me can make it 7 years running.
Did I get any mail?
So this is Fran now going to the Chief's office looking for her own nomination.
She is visibly rattled. She's not the calm, relaxed, composed.
She's clearly become obsessed with this. It's like a holy grail for her.
The chief is reluctant to get her involved due to his concern about how it's affecting her mental health and therefore her performance.
Her view is that this will definitely be her year. She sent edible bouquets to the judges, and I think she saved some migrants as well.
She has a manic look on her face and insists that it's her year. So we're at the Flopacopas 2025.
She has gone all out with the face and hair.
And after getting a fright when she discovers that the weapons and the drugs at one of the stands manned by a chap called Rusty finds out they're real, she sneaks backstage to check the names engraved in all of the award trophies that she saw passing by in a trolley.
Yes, and to her distress, discovers that Gator Joe has indeed won a 7th consecutive award.
And worse still, he walks in and finds her sobbing while holding the statue. Why is he there?
I think he wants to find out who's won.
No, but she only noticed because the trolley went by. Yeah.
He is not very sympathetic to her, calling her a crybaby initially, although realising that she is genuinely upset, he does show a little bit of compassion.
Well, a little bit, yeah.
Maybe for show.
Yeah, Fran cannot stand the sight of him with his silly mullet and glasses, and it looks like, I think we're expecting her to kill him with the statue she's holding. But instead, she sobs and runs off.
But before she runs off, he tells her that he was nervous that she might beat him this year. And then when she leaves, he shouts his catchphrase after her, "Get her done," before saying that Michael Jordan only won 6. He's the Michael Jordan of being a cop in Florida's Panhandle.
Okay. In the green room, she tries to compose herself and soon discovers the now fully grown Daisy in her cage under a sheet. And it appears that she's come up with a plan.
Yeah, she finds a case with the stickers on it showing Joe's 2 catchphrases and ads for his 2-hour power juice, which he promotes on TikTok regularly.
And after opening up the medical box, she grins as she removes a bottle of liquid laxative.
Yes, and we go back out to the awards where we see a janitor fist pumping as the award for best undercover cop is awarded to somebody who couldn't be here tonight.
That was brilliant.
One of my favourites.
Fran at this point returns and sidles up to Rusty before there is an embarrassing misunderstanding when he thinks she is asking him out.
Yes, that's very awkward.
But instead, she wants to know if she can safely take a reptile laxative as she's backed up herself.
Yeah, so he works for animal control. I don't think we can really say that. We find that out later
Yeah, it
on.
wasn't clear at the time because I've taken a note here saying, how does the weapons guy, how did he know about that?
So I wonder if they've maybe mentioned it in an earlier version. I don't know. Anyway, he works for animal control, so he would know. While he's giving her this information, my favourite part of the award ceremony happens.
What was that?
The award for Best Internal Affairs Investigation is announced and is roundly booed by the cops in attendance.
Yeah, it was brilliant. So Rusty, what he does is he says, yeah, you can have it, but he writes down the maximum dosage
Yes,
on a napkin.
do not exceed.
Yes. We catch up with her in latex gloves and an upbeat score as she uses a syringe to add the dose of laxative to one of Joe's energy shot drinks and then disposes of the gloves in the bin. But
Yeah, that seems a bit careless. But when you think she's only trying to make him shit himself,
yes,
then it's maybe not as big a deal.
I've got a question about that, and also I think it's probably something that we can discuss with regards to the overall tone of the show and how we assess it going forward. We'll get there in a second. So before she can leave, Joe enters and jokingly calls her a crybaby.
Again.
Yep, as he puts on his Rambo-style shot belt. And Fran claims that there's no hard feelings. He then ungraciously accepts that she probably isn't a better cop than him and goes on to explain that being a constant winner is not easy and is in fact exhausting.
Yes, you can't keep the public happy all the time. And she says that he does in fact look tired, which is a concern for him.
Yeah, he's certainly startled. He's got a loving fan base, an audience to look good for. So what does he do?
He downs the laced energy shot before we hear an announcement that there will be a 30-minute break before the final awards are handed out.
Okay, so this is a question I've got. It's very chancy. What was her plan? If he had not entered at this point, how would she have known he was definitely going to take that shot before he got on the stage?
I don't know. Maybe she had a plan to go and find him or something.
I don't think so. And I think, again, what I said a moment ago, we have to make the decision. You know, this isn't a standard cop procedural. So, you know, we have to just accept that these things are what they are for the sake of the plot, I suppose.
It's almost been worked backwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
They started at the end point.
Yeah, it's more surreal, it's more black comedy, and I don't think this is the type of thing that we can, this wouldn't make sense.
No.
We'll be doing it. If the show continues like this, we would just be doing that every week and then not understanding or not accepting that it's no longer that type of dark but realistic.
The tone is different this season.
Yeah.
There's no way to get around that.
And it gets more surreal in this episode as we progress.
It certainly does. Before Joe leaves the green room, Fran tells him to get up on that stage and let the essence of who he is pour out of him.
Yeah. Shortly after, Fran watches and listens in delight as Joe has to leave the outside buffet in a flatulent hurry for the bathroom. However,
her plan hasn't worked because he's not on stage.
Yeah.
He's just had to go to the toilet.
But you can't control that. I mean, you can't control, it's not an immediate dose. You give someone a laxative, it either works immediately or at some point in the future. And if at some point in the future you can't control,
well, exactly,
roughly half an hour. I mean, same if you take a sleeping tablet.
Yeah.
It says, take it 30 minutes before bed. But, it's there or thereabouts, depending on your own circumstances.
I did enjoy that as Joe waddled off, he was giving a cursory gator done to the folk that he went by.
He was good, wasn't he? So, however, things go from prank to felony in a matter of seconds as... so she's followed him from outside to she's now outside the bathroom.
Yes.
And she hears him gasp and then thud to the floor.
Yeah, she's just given him back his catchphrases from outside the door before this happens, and now she enters to find him dead on the ground.
So this, from a legal point of view, is what, manslaughter? When you kill someone,
at least, yeah,
you've spiked him, it doesn't matter what your intentions were. You can't say, I didn't mean it. You don't go spike. That's why you don't spike people's drinks. You don't know how they'll react.
Yeah. However, Fran recalls her own mantra that one stupid mistake shouldn't ruin a life and heads back to the green room.
Yeah, after cleaning up the area where she touched with a napkin.
Yeah.
So when she's back there, she recovers the bottle and the gloves from the bin, but realises that after the autopsy, Rusty will recall that she asked about the laxative and it'll be obvious that she was involved.
Yeah.
And so with horror and disgust, she comes to the conclusion that there is only one solution.
She's going to have to get Daisy to help her
How?
by eating Joe.
Yeah, seems sensible enough.
Yeah.
However, the alligator is not for moving. Now, I took a wee note here myself watching it sort of live the first time. I noticed that there's a very weak tinfoil type lock. Mm-hmm. I thought that's odd.
Now we'll find out why.
Yeah. And so how does she entice him to move?
She uses Oreos from the vending machine.
Yep. And makes a trail to the bathroom. Again, just to reiterate my point, so she is making a trail in a public corridor with a slow-moving alligator. The chances of her not being spotted, anyone going to the toilet, we now have to just accept this is not reality.
No. Was it before?
Enough to say, okay, this wouldn't happen and this couldn't happen.
This certainly wouldn't happen in Columbo.
No, that's what I'm saying.
It's like,
Yeah. So we just have to accept it.
Yeah.
It's now a surreal dark comedy.
Yes. At this point, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll find it's different every week.
Maybe. Well, you tell me.
Well, I will do. I don't know, maybe I won't. Don't want to ruin it.
I'll find it myself.
Daisy is led into the bathroom next to Joe's body, but will not consume it.
Why not?
She just wants to have a wee nap.
And so the absurdity levels increase when she goes to the Rusty's drug display and grabs a block of meth, which she feeds to the animal. Now, I am not a meth head
Anymore.
but I've heard through people who have done drugs, maybe not meth, but similar drugs, that they say that if you take something like, for example, cocaine, it's an appetite suppressant. You don't tend to get hungry when you're. It's not smoking weed or it's not a munchie. You don't get munchies from this type of thing. I'm guessing meth might be the same. Don't know.
Who can say? I suppose it's a play on the whole cocaine bear thing.
Yeah.
And I think the idea is not to make it hungry, but to make it out of control.
Okay, that makes sense. This does the trick, and she listens from around the corner as a cop enters the bathroom to find the fantastically horrific scene. So do you think he's sort of seen the feet and the legs just disappear?
Maybe, yeah.
We've got a bit of a time skip now.
Yes, we head back earlier than those events, but later than the initial events.
Okay, Charlie's theme is appropriately played on a sitar as we find her in a meditative state before uninspiringly selecting Bowling Green on the map.
Yep, she pulls out her CB radio,
which she uses in order to try and energise herself into her next move.
Does anybody out there read me? Disco sucks, kill all hippies. Jesus. What do people do? Pretty vacant, eh? Subvert normality. This is Gorgeous signing off.
Punk is not sexual. It's just aggression.
What?
Out of the blue, right? Oh, sorry, I thought you were quoting Out of the Blue.
Yeah. Out of the blue, 10-4. Always nice to hear from a fellow hopperhead.
And proud Linda Mann's man.
Yeah, all right. So, what's your situation, good buddy?
Yeah, still being written. 1 mile marker at a time. I drive a rig. Suits my meditative nature.
I see. So sort of a poet-philosopher situation, huh?
I've been called worse. So what's your location?
I guess I'm finding myself at a place that feels like an ending, but it's still the middle. Kind of stymied.
You need a beginning.
Oh, yes, but where does one begin when they're looking at a blank slate the size of a country? Not sure what the stakes are here.
Well, here's what I know. Everyone has a highway. The thing they're good at. You know, the thing that defines them. Because there is no destination. There is only the highway. And I believe if we open our perception and trust and humble ourselves and find sanctuary when we need it, that highway will find us. And now, I gotta pay the water bill, so signing off for now. But hey, you can get me on this channel most any time, okay?
10-4, good buddy.
that's an interesting driver of plot.
We might save this discussion for another day, I think.
That voice sounded familiar.
Vaguely familiar, yeah, but who can really put their finger on that sort of thing?
Who knows? So, from there we see Charlie has taken a position in a zoo.
Is it a zoo? I had it down as a sanctuary of some kind.
Well, that's a bit of both.
She feeds some chickens before one of them is taken and fed to an alligator.
Yes, by a college called Hutch.
Yes. He tries to teach Charlie that the alligators have gentle souls.
Yeah, there's a bit of sort of pseudo-philosophy here, isn't there?
Charlie's not buying it. She's very reluctant to get into the alligator pen, and he asks her how far she's willing to go to protect the innocent.
I think at this point she quotes Werner Herzog.
No doubt.
And I think she mentioned about only seeing empty death. Also, there was a sort of younger blonde walked by and smiled, obviously quite taken by Hutch. I think her name was Julia.
That happens a few times. There's a few folk cast their eye over Hutch.
However, Hutch asks her to look into the alligators, this must be Daisy, into her eyes, and claims that she will see gentleness, as she herself is gentle, and invites her to come in and to try this.
Yeah, she's not up for that.
Yeah, I think Charlie herself's quite smitten by this guy.
There's a few things she says a little bit strangely around him, yeah. Yeah,
but she's also nervous and, as you said, declines and tells him that she would like to space out all his gator stuff rather than do it in a single day. Yeah, and this is the part, I think, where he asks her how far.
I think he's spotting a vulnerability here. Taking a wee bit of an advantage, because we find them in a meeting where I think it's all women apart from Hutch, is that right?
Yeah, there's always in this situation you always find that the guy's slightly creepier, isn't he? A bit sinister.
There might be other guys there. I probably overstated that.
Okay, maybe there is, but still, when you get a charming leader like that, there's always these culty vibes.
It's a bit like the one in Time of the Monkey.
Time of the Monkey, yeah. That's what I thought as well, yeah. Although I don't think they're quite as extreme as what they were.
There's certainly no pressure cooker bombs in this episode.
No. They're having an activist meeting and discussing a plan to liberate animals in peril.
Yeah, they watch a video of Joe medicating Daisy heavily, as Charlie calls her the Judy Garland of gators.
I quite like that.
And then, like we heard at the top of the show, we know that Joe is popular in a range of different talks.
Now, apparently, the gang are too well known at this point to Joe himself. But she is a fresh face who can get close, and she's quite happy to accept the assignment, as life has apparently led her to her highway. She's ready to ride.
Yeah, but this will not happen at his house because that's too dangerous, but a room full of cops?
Well, yeah, going to the house, I suppose you break into someone's house, you're going to be shot, but you do it in public.
Maybe.
There are witnesses at least, although the witnesses are other cops in Florida, so...
So they target a public event at which we now see Charlie being wired up for sound.
Yeah, it's the Floppa-Coppas. They drop her off disguised as catering outside the event.
I think this is a reference, but I'm not sure what to the pink outfits. I'm sure I've seen some discussion that this is a reference to something specific.
Okay.
But I don't have the name.
And she has an earpiece in her self-proclaimed waxy lug hole.
Inside the building, we see Charlie now alone, separated from the others.
She's got a big grin plastered, whether or not it's genuine or not, but she's got a smile on her face. She walks into the main area. This is where all the stands are.
And on a placard next to her, we see a list of the nominees for Officer of the Year, along with the reasons for their nomination, which I have noted down for this particular event. Fran Lamont rescued 17 women and children from an abandoned semi-truck, coordinated the third largest fentanyl drug bust in Florida state history, and is Volunteer of the Year at the Panhandle Retirement Community. Francis O'Leary set a new Panama City record of 478 parking violations and tickets in a single year. Starts to get a bit dodgy with William Kane, who single-handedly stopped an attempted armed robbery at a Pensacola gentleman's club. And finally, Joseph Pilson, 12.8 million followers on TikTok.
Oh, very worthy. Now, Charlie also speaks to a chap called Flannels. He's wearing flannel clothes.
Yeah. She's surprised that this is a cop convention.
She asks why there's so many cops here.
Yeah. She says that the name Floppa-Coppa did not in any way make it self-evident.
Hutch tells her to stay focused and find Daisy in the green room. So she makes her way there, passing the placard, as you mentioned, with Fran and Joe on it. And in the green room, she is tickled to use the lingo. She tells them that the target has been located and is told to wait for the cops to take lunch and then wheel Daisy out the back door.
A simple plan, very easily done.
However, as she takes a vape, she lets them know of a problem.
There's no wheels on the cage.
But as they consider the next move, she is interrupted by the tearful Fran we saw earlier.
This is clearly part of the same scene.
She offers her a hanky and listens as she rants about her conflict. The awards are stupid, but she so wants to win as it's turning her into a different person. A person perhaps she doesn't like.
Yeah, Charlie understands and recognises Fran from the placard, but at this point Fran seems to question why Charlie is back here.
All Charlie can respond with is a nervous laugh before telling her to take it easy and leaves. And so she finds herself in the supply room closet, and is unsure about Hutch's plan.
She's urged to take Daisy by the leash and walk her out.
However, she agrees, and in the green room, she uses bolt cutters to open the lock and puts on a leash.
Then your favourite part of the episode?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the part which, finally confirms to us that we can't look at it from a perspective of reality.
Okay, explain.
Well, she looks into the eyes of the alligator and is transported to a place of shapes and colours, a sort of mystical...
Yeah, apparently definitely not done by AI, that artwork.
Okay.
Despite appearances.
And she sees Daisy in a regal position, I think maybe on a throne, which seems to confirm to her that she does indeed need to be emancipated. However, she has the same problem as Fran.
Which is?
The gator is disinclined to budge.
Hutch, on comms, suggests using Oreos to lead the alligator out.
And so she takes the little sort of tie ribbon, the tinfoily type thing that gets used to tie up a loaf of bread.
Yes.
And she uses that to close. That's what we saw earlier on. It looked a fairly unsubstantial mechanism for
it's not going to hold an alligator back, that's for sure.
But she closes the cage with that.
She heads to the vending machine to get the Oreos that she needs, but is passed at this point by a desperate-looking Joe.
Yes, who openly admits his predicament in his pants. Also, I mean, these days you don't use it really anymore. You don't insert money, but that was always a thing, wasn't it? These machines where you had to put in paper money,
people rubbing it on the machine
out,
and stuff like that. Yeah, she can't get anything out the vending machine. It won't take her cash, so she heads to the store cupboard again, where she swipes a bunch of Oreos.
Again, I've just noted here, it's unlikely that type of room with all those, like Oreos, that would be locked up because people will steal those.
You would think so. But I think, it's the refills for the machine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, she's back at the green room and is shocked to find that Daisy has gone. And even more so when she hears the cop from the bathroom shout that it ate Gator Joe.
The timeline here doesn't make a lot of sense.
Does it not?
So when we saw it from Fran's perspective, she follows Joe to the bathroom and you don't see Charlie. So Charlie's already left the vending machine. Yep. But Fran spends some time outside the bathroom shouting catchphrases before going and seeing Joe, going and getting the gator, leading the gator back through. So Charlie spends all that time in the store cupboard getting the Oreos.
But that's my point. We've just now got to accept these inconsistencies. It's not reality.
Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly.
Yeah. The place is now filled with cops as the incident unfolds and Hutch advises her to get out, although she's keen to find out what happened. It should seem pretty obvious, I'd have thought. Someone shouted that the alligator ate Joe.
A number of different cops argue over jurisdiction, and Fran suggests Rusty, and this is where we learn that he's from animal control.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of debate over jurisdiction here, isn't there?
Yeah, a few of them have a go at each other.
Yeah. Eventually they agree that Rusty should be in charge, and Fran is happy with the suggestion that Daisy needs to die, as she now has had the taste of human blood.
Despite Charlie interjecting and pleading for due process for gators, this is the common view of them all.
And so they open the bathroom door to find a very agitated beast.
Yes, and are swiftly forced to retreat.
And so they agree to wait, and while this is going on, Charlie notices the Oreo trail, which she follows back to the cage, and she realises that something doesn't quite add up, or something does quite add up.
Yeah, and as she heads back through to where the cops are, she's intercepted by Hutch.
Charlie, did you turn off your walkie? We need to go.
Oh, no, we can't go. No. They're trying to kill Daisy, man. We don't have much time.
Charlie, if she's known the taste of human blood, they should kill her.
Oh, hold on a sec. Now, I did that thing that you said. I looked her right in the eyes, and that is a gentle soul, man.
She ate her owner, so clearly not.
No, she didn't, because I saw her right before the attack, and she was very calm, okay? In fact, I tied up her little cage with a twisty tie thing.
I don't know what that is.
Yes, you do. It's a twisty tie for a bed fastener.
I've never eaten bread.
No, I tied it. You've never eaten bread?
Literally not once.
Okay, so I know what you're thinking. Okay, a gator, that's a very strong animal. Surely she just broke free of that cage by herself. But no, I'm telling you, it was untied, you see, by fingers, human fingers, okay? And also, I saw just a whole trail of Oreos in this hallway.
Okay, so Gator Joe let her out.
But no, Gator Joe, I saw him too, and he was running around, he was shitting his pants. I saw him, he had to take a shit real bad.
Okay, look, Charlie, the mission is scrubbed. We have to go. You coming or not?
What happened to taking care of innocent creatures?
She's not an innocent creature. She's a killer of men.
But she's...
Taste of human blood, Charlie. I don't make the rules. Come on.
What is this? Fucking amateurs.
It's quite sweary this week.
Yep. I won't beep it because that is the show.
Yeah.
That is the style.
And as you know, we take our cue from the show.
We do. Hutch reminded me, the actor reminded me of, you won't know who this is, Clayne Crawford, who...
That's not a real name, you made that up.
Who starred in Lethal Weapon, the TV show, and Rectify, very good. That's a good show, Rectify. But yeah, those...
Rectum what?
Yep, exactly. We're back in the supply room where Fran calls the chief and...
No, she takes a call from the chief. He wants to find out if she's okay, and there's a bit of crossed wires here.
Well, he firstly mentioned Joe's last tickety-tockety.
Well, she talks about the blood, and he's a bit confused because he was calling about the TikTok, which shows her crying.
She is initially confused until she works out that he was recording with camera glasses, which means his final moments are probably still on them or the cloud.
Well, yeah, but that's a big assumption that he was recording whilst shitting himself.
It's not a risk you would like to take if you're down for murder.
Yeah, but you assume that he's not constantly
killing,
recording, because then when would he have had time to edit and upload that video?
Yeah.
Unless he's got an employee who he's constantly streaming to who just picks out the key moments.
Mm-hmm.
But that's never mentioned.
No.
Anyway, we move back out to the main hall area where Rusty and Charlie have a chat about whether this taste of human blood thing is legitimate.
Yeah, as after sharing this cosmic connection, she is not convinced. So, again, that's a question that maybe you were going to ask me, or you did ask me. Are we happy with the whole sort of supernatural, mystical element of the show?
Is it really that far removed from having the superpower to tell about lies or not?
I don't know.
Anyway, it certainly is less grounded this year.
Rusty has to agree that Daisy was always docile on TikTok and doesn't think anything in her normal drug regime would cause her to flip out. But Charlie then gets her marble rolling when Fran walks by and Rusty asks her about her upset tummy.
Yes. And Charlie and Rusty then start thinking about other drugs that might cause Daisy to behave that way before coming to a conclusion.
Well, they come to a conclusion, or Charlie does, when she looks down and sees the bags of meth in front of her. So back in the corridor, Fran is consoled by a cowboy cop. I don't know if he's a marshal or a sheriff, but he's wearing a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
However, she is more interested in the glasses, which she says were a gift from Joe's mom, and wants them back so that she can return them.
Yes, he says that he thinks Daisy probably ate them, but once they slice her open and retrieve them and they get logged in evidence and reviewed, they will definitely get back to the mother.
Yeah, they're probably in the belly of the beast. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the other cops notes that it's gone a bit quiet, so over Fran's objections, they burst into the bathroom, guns drawn.
But when they do, they are troubled to see that what?
She's in the walls.
Yeah, she escaped through a vent.
Is that a Matrix reference?
Don't know, is it?
Maybe. It's certainly a reference to something.
Die Hard.
Yeah. Anyway, back out in the main area.
Well, they're at the stand, and Charlie, working on her hunch, is going through Randy's camera, and he's got he's taking pictures.
He keeps taking shots of people with the display, and we see at one spot it goes from a full stack of meth to one bag being missing.
And they agree this could cause Daisy to become aggressive if she'd obviously consumed. So she turns to Flannel Boy. I like this. That's maybe my favourite scene of the episode. And she's bemused that he can't recall if he saw a gator score a bag of meth, as he get caught shoplifting. That's why he's there, rather than going to juvie.
I found this a little bit strange though, because she obviously thinks it's an absurd suggestion that he should obviously be able to say that definitely didn't happen. But then she seems to check. She's like, well, let's work out whether it happened or not by the damage to the pile. I said, well, no, obviously it didn't happen.
Why, obviously?
Because the gator didn't come in and take its own meth. She's asking it as a stupid question, I thought.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We can't We can't judge this in reality anymore.
But she reacts to the guy that she's asking you to as if he should obviously know that didn't happen.
Yeah, but he went to the toilet. You can't rely on that. He hasn't paid attention.
The reason that he wouldn't have noticed is because it's such an obvious thing that could not possibly have happened.
No, I think it is in real life, obviously, but
we're not
in real life.
I like the fact that Rusty noted that it wouldn't be that unusual in Florida for this to have happened.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the cops all pile back through from the bathroom and note that there's a gator on the loose and that everyone should arm themselves, except for janitors.
Yes, only for him to peel off his fake beard and show that he is a cop. He was the
winner of the undercover cop, yes, who is still embedded in the mob, apparently.
And Charlie is disappointed that Rusty has also joined in the gator hunt.
Yes, he wants to ice that bitch now that she's tasted blood.
So as they all move along the corridor, Charlie spots the vending machine, which gives her an idea, and she heads to the supply room where she finds the sleeping gator.
Yes, whilst there, Fran bursts in on them, but agrees to help set Daisy free.
Yeah, of course, because Fran wants rid of the evidence.
Indeed.
And so by using a catering trolley and bags of Oreos to keep her subdued, they manage to get her out of the hotel into the caged back seat of Fran's cop car.
I thought for a second it might be Joe's cop car, given that it was set up for the alligator, but no, I think you're right. I think it's just the bit where they put the criminals.
Yeah. But as they drive, Charlie senses BS coming from Fran. I think the big one is that Fran says that she's addicted to the 2-hour power shots.
Yes.
That Charlie finds in her bag. I think she asked for hand sanitizer, and when she gets in there, she sees these drinks.
Well, it's the one that she'd laced that she stole back from the bin.
And she's even more suspicious when Fran tells her to return to her car after they get to the swamp.
Yes, and says she's just going to let Daisy go.
So Charlie walks away, but returns and is disappointed to be proven correct when she sees that she is about to put a bullet in her head.
Hey! Gosh, I thought you were one of the good ones, and I guess you're just another loose cannon.
I am not a loose cannon. Who are you? You are the nosiest cater waiter I've ever met.
Just another guy, just concerned with protecting the innocent, same as you.
Skater's not innocent. She killed a man.
Bullshit. Oh, but you know it wasn't bullshit. When you said that Gator Joe had to take that shit because of reptile laxative, well, you knew that was true. But the thing is, right, so Gator Joe, he knew that he was gonna win that award, so I mean, why? Why on earth would he take industrial strength reptile laxative before he knew he had to get on stage?
I didn't mean to hurt him. I just wanted to embarrass him, you know? Just embarrass him a little bit.
Wait, so what, so you put the laxative in his power juice and then what? You gave him too much? Oh, I see. So you needed a fall guy and, so you gave Daisy a bunch of meth hoping that she would just go to town on him. I gotta say, I'm saying that in a rational tone of voice, but it is empirically insane.
Damn awards, you know, I used to be a good cop. I used to be a really good cop.
Okay, easy. Fan, you still are, okay? Let's just go back and tell them the truth.
I can't. No, I'm not gonna throw it all away. And no, not for some asshole with 2 goddamn catchphrases.
Again, without wanting to labour the point, 2 more examples of why we can't take this realistically. Obviously, we didn't really mention, but the fact that Joe's apparently shit himself to death. I mean, overdosing on laxative, you're not going to kill yourself. You're not going to die from taking too much laxative.
Clearly, you just did. You've been proven wrong.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a fitting death?
Yeah. But also in that scene there, she tells Charlie to go to the car. But Charlie's only like 20 seconds away and she's about to shoot him in the head. She knows that Charlie would have heard the shot.
You'd have thought so.
Yeah.
But she might have lied and said he came at me or something, or she came at me. What we heard at the end of that clip was Daisy's tail tripping Fran up and Fran pulling her gun out. So they're kind of face to face at this point.
Charlie implores her not to shoot and says that if she looks into her eyes, she will see who she really is. Fran does so and also experiences the same mystical vision that Charlie had.
She agrees at this point to confess and they let Daisy go, and we see that the glasses are left behind in the mud.
Yes, there's one last sort of excretion as Daisy walks into the water.
Indeed.
She plops these down in front of the chief back in the police station.
Yes, he calls this the most Florida man thing of all time.
And refuses to bring it in front of a judge. So he's acting like Florida man. This is, someone has died here and you're deciding that you'll just take the law into your own hands, you'll cover up
I'm not sure that's Florida man. Florida man's doing something really stupid that's beyond belief. This is just being a corrupt policeman.
Well, yeah, okay. It's still really stupid and beyond belief that...
That's that, but I think, yes. He says there's a perfectly good narrative for this death and we're just going to leave it at that. But she's not willing to accept that as the end of the matter.
No, she reminds him that she murdered someone. Well, she didn't. She killed someone.
Yes.
So she hands over her badge and gun and decides that she needs to find another way to serve her community.
We then find her at Hutch's sanctuary cleaning out the gators, where Hutch tells her that she could win Volunteer of the Month, which causes a crazed look to come into her eyes as the competitive spirit burns and she starts to shovel that little bit faster.
Back at the Barracuda, Charlie is on the CB to her good buddy, bringing him up to speed on her crazy adventure, but doesn't know what she has planned next. Although thanks to him and the gator, she accepts that she may be starting to find out how to enjoy the journey that she's now on.
Yeah, I think that's the theme of this episode to a certain extent, is the sort of aimlessness, temporary aimlessness perhaps. She at this point sees what she believes to be Daisy in the water, and as the gator advances towards her...
I think at first she calls her over.
She does initially, but then the gator accelerates and Charlie has a bit of a wobble and gets back in the car, and perhaps that epiphany wasn't the epiphany she thought it was after all.
Yeah, she makes a sharp exit as we see the gator turn over onto his back and show off his belly, so maybe he or she was having a bit of fun.
Yes. As the credits roll, we see another Joe TikTok, and that's the end.
Yeah, I think we see we understand his unhealthy love for his gator.
Indeed. Do you think you would subscribe to his TikTok?
Nope, I don't have TikTok.
Do you think the series is going to reset at this point, or how do you see it going?
I don't know. I mean, I say I don't not enjoy it. It's just been quite a shift.
It's one of those ones where if this is a one-off step out from the norm, it's one thing. And if this is the new normal, it's a different thing. So I enjoyed it, but I don't think I would enjoy it if every episode was like this.
I agree.
Okay. Well, let's just wrap there then. Move on to some trivia. The director this week was Lucky McKee, who also directed Time of the Monkey in season 1, which was written by Wyatt Kane, who we talked about last season, and was also last week's writer, as well as this one. Like I said there, 3 times in one sentence. We talked about Kumail Nanjiani briefly at the top of the episode. He was a lockdown Columbo convert, which led to him participating in this show. He's also a friend of Natasha Lyonne's. I first encountered him about 10 years ago in his gaming podcast, The Indoor Kids, with his wife, Emily. That was on Nerdist before the Nerdist guy got cancelled.
Yep.
He's also appeared in things like The Big Sick, which was kind of semi-autobiographical, The Twilight Zone, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, Eternals, which was a Marvel one, and for a long time in Silicon Valley. Gabby Hoffman played Fran. A lot of folk will remember her as a child actor. She was the kid in Field of Dreams and in Uncle Buck. She was
really?
in
Uncle
Sleepless
Buck?
in Seattle.
She must have been because there was an older girl in...
she's younger than Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, so she was, I think there were 2 sort of younger kids, Macaulay Culkin and the other one, and there was an older
so she'd have been younger, yeah.
Right.
She was in Freaky Friday. And she got 2 of her 3 Emmy nominations for her role in Transparent. She grew up in New York's famous/notorious Chelsea Hotel until she was 11, and her mother was the Warhol superstar Viva.
Ah, right. I've just finished a book about Andy Warhol. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. Good Buddy will come back to, I think, in the future. It was a familiar sounding voice, but I can't quite put my finger on it just yet. Hutch was played by a guy called Shiloh Fernandez. He's appeared in things like Gossip Girl, Dead Girl, Mobland, and the upcoming film adaptation of The Odyssey. Chief Hal was played by John Sayles. He's worked as a screenwriter primarily since the 70s. He's written things like Return of the Secaucus 7, The Spiderwick Chronicles, and a film in 1980 called Alligator, which fits quite nicely. He was Oscar nominated for Passion Fish in 1993 and Lone Star in 1997. As an actor, he's appeared in things like Piranha, Malcolm X, and as a director, he worked in a number of Springsteen music videos, including Born in the USA and Glory Days. I promised you I would tell you about Matt Passmore.
You did.
He appeared as a version of himself, presenting an award in 2019. He's best known for his roles on the shows McCloud's Daughters, Satisfaction, and the Florida-based cop show The Glades. He plays a Florida State Police officer, hence his appearance at this event.
Makes sense.
Finally, one that we wouldn't normally mention, only got 1 line, I think. Asha Etchison played Amira, one of the activists, the one that said he's tasted the flesh of man or something like that in the
Human blood.
in one of the clips. She gets a mention because she was in Matlock.
Was she?
She played Lauren Jarrett in the episode Claws.
Oh, all right, okay.
Obviously, we talked about Gator Joe having his roots in Joe Exotic, the protagonist of Tiger King. Pretty sure he's now in jail. Daisy, the animatronic alligator, was produced by the same people who did Baby Yoda for The Mandalorian. The band in the show were played by a real band called Scapository, a ska reggae punk band from Long Island. In terms of the title, The Taste of Human Blood, obviously a reference to the old wives' tale that wants an animal, traditionally a dog, I think, but in this case the alligator tastes human blood. It will prefer it to other foods and start killing humans. Some people say due to the high salt content in human blood, but there's no basis in fact for this claim. In terms of music, the show opened with Thank a Beer Drinker by Eddie Montgomery. We heard Only You Know by Dion DiMucci during the episode, and the outro was Patsy Cline's I'm Moving Along, kind of with the same theme that we talked about already in terms of Charlie drifting away or along without being pursued. In terms of who did crimes this week, the guy who robbed the house at the start, Earl. We've got Fran, who poisoned Joe and stole meth. And in both cases, they're going to get away with it because the law is turning a blind eye thanks to the intervention of a corrupt cop.
What have we got next week?
Next week, Charlie locates her fastball and waits for a call to the show in Hometown Hero.
Well, until then,
cheerio.
Bye-bye.